Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Spellweaver video. Today we've got another episode of Deck Doctor. This deck comes to us from Lieutenant Hargrove on the Spellweaver forums, and he's got for us a Wisdom, Corruption, Nature control deck. Now I've taken a look at this deck, I've built it, and I've taken down notes. It came to me a while ago, but because of people sending me decks before it, I hadn't exactly had time to Deck Doctor it. So this has been actually a deck pretty much in the works, and kind of in the back burner of my mind for a little while. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into doctoring this deck. Now normally I would say the first thing to do is to change Darius Stormborn into just Prodigy of Wisdom, basic Darius. You know what I mean? Just because basic Darius is so strong, or Darius. But I actually really like the Stormborn in this deck, and because it kind of stands out in that regard, I think Stormborn is like the least played hero of all the 12 that we have. I mean, even people play Zash, basic Zash or advanced Yeva more than they play Darius. So I'm gonna keep him in there for right now. If you want to play this deck and you want to play, Prodigy of Wisdom, go for it. That's fine. That's your call. This deck could also be seen playing the Advanced Nephiros, but again, that's personal preference, and I'm not going to change that here. So the nature is splashed for two things: Enchanted Spring and Venerated Unicorn. Enchanted Spring allowing you to bounce Infernal Vultures for more mill, bouncing Mesmerizing Spirit for more discard, bouncing Succubus for more life gain and more life loss on your opponent's side. So first things first, this deck is 65 cards, which personally I hate. I hate playing a deck that's more than 60 cards. So first things first, I'm going to cut this down to 60 cards. First things we're going to do is we're going to go down to 2 Thalamic Reflectory. There's really not anything in this deck that you really it's absolutely necessary that you flashback or reflect. I mean, it's cool to play like a Ancient Wisdom and then flash it back again and draw 4 cards, but again, I'm not really sure you absolutely need that. So next thing we're going to knock it down to 2 Splitting Headache. Splitting Headache is really good against control, but 3 is kind of a weird number. It doesn't really work. And to be completely honest with you, when I played decks that weren't really focused on discard, and I had a lot of Splitting Headaches, I found them clumping in my hand. One of the first decks I ever played when I started playing Spellweaver was a Corruption Wisdom control deck back when Advanced Despina let you look at the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck and take all the creatures you found that way. Back when she was ridiculously broken. And I played 4 Splitting Headaches, and I just found that even when I had like 3 Splitting Headaches, they clumped in my hand when my opponent had like 1 card in hand, and it just never felt good about playing it, and I hated having those getting all stuck in my hand. Next thing we're going to do the same thing with Mesmerizing Spirit. Either play 2 or 4, because I agree that she's a really strong early game blocker. You can put her out on turn 3 with a New Horizon or so. But 3 is just kind of an awkward number. So we got to cut 2 more cards. Normally I'd say cut down to 2 Venerated Unicorn, because Spell or Artifact Hate isn't really all that important in a control deck. I mean, hitting a Lamp Saphir is always important. Hitting Restless Tombs can be nice, or a Dark Portal for that matter. But because of the I haven't talked to Lieutenant Hargrove about this deck, but the more I think about it, the more I think that Infected Survivor and Venerated Unicorn are in this deck specifically for their speed 3 and their ability to block elves. For instance, I was sitting here and I was pondering to myself, why even splash the nature? Why not just replace this with Gnome Power Engineer, and just replace this with Cemetery, or the Grand Institute. There it is, right? I couldn't remember the name, and it's sitting right in front of me. But I think that's because of the speed 3, and it it allows for people to, or allows you to block elves more effectively, because elves are running everywhere right now. So because of that, I think the New Horizons are important, but this is probably the only card I like at 3. You don't play enough kind of color diversity to merit 4, and it's not super important that you hit nature right away. So, but I mean, you could cut this. I think I'm going to cut this down to 2 because, like I said, you're playing Wisdom and Corruption primarily, and you're pretty much only got 2 cards that require nature. So hitting the nature isn't extremely important. I like the 4 Noxious Fumes for the anti-aggro, but if we're, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the Infernal Vultures. I mean, if your idea is to counter Rush, then they've got no, then they're so slow that they're kind of pointless. If you're trying to counter control decks, well, you've got plenty of cards to do that. So I think I cut these down to 2. Keep them in there was kind of an anti-mill thing, or a kind of a finisher, but I don't really think you need 4. So that opens up a slot for 1 card. And let me think. Something that bounces. We could go with the Library Guard. Let's go with creatures. You could go with the Library Guard. You could go with the you could go with the Library Guard. You could go with something like a Gnome Power Engineer. You could go with something like a Fey of Charms for potential a win condition, or maybe even a Dread Knight. Maybe spells. I kind of changed my mind halfway through this video, so I know I said I was, sitting here and pondering this for quite some time, but the more I thought about it, during the course of this video, the more I thought that pretty much all of these still work. Pretty much your win condition is going to be Succubus, either bouncing it or just draining life and then reanimating her when she dies. I mean, reanimate is a really good target for the Reflector, but I still don't think it merits playing 3. Two Lapis of Fear, maybe you could bump this up to 4. It's also another win condition. I assume that because it's a rare, it might not have all 4 copies, and that's why the only 2 copies. I mean, also, if you're really hurting against Rush, the Plague Vermin is a really strong card. I mean, they've got the Infected Survivor to kind of buy you turns and such. Infected Survivor can trade up really well too. Let me think. What would be a really good one of? I mean, I could recommend something like Gin of Wishes to help you dig for some of your spells or your artifacts, but I hate recommending, put an epic in your deck, because people don't really have access to all the epics. So I try to avoid recommending people add epics to their deck. Let's see. This deck could have some issue with board clearing. I mean, it's got the 2 Infernal Tributes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do really well board clearing wise. But then again, any color or any aspect that's not Dominion can have trouble with board clear. So I'm sure I'll have more to kind of recommend for this deck when it comes to the gameplay, or after the gameplay video. But as of right now, I think this deck is pretty well fine. You could probably go back up to 3 copies of Mesmerizing Spirit for the anti-control and the anti-rush game. I think the 60th card is going to kind of be what you feel like you need. If you feel like you need more, if you're really having trouble with the mana base, another New Horizons. If you're really facing a lot of control, you could put in another Splitting Headache or another Mesmerizing Spirit. If you're feeling like you have a lot of spells that you like to reflect, you could go with the 3rd copy of the Reflector. As of right now, I think this is going to be fine. Really, I like this deck. I've played Corruption, Wisdom, Control decks, and I've splashed either Order or Nature in the past. I've even splashed a little bit of Dominion. Wisdom, Corruption, Dominion. I think if someone could make those 3 aspect combinations work, it would be an absolute beast. Because if you just take the best thing from all 3 colors or aspects, then holy hell, could you make a strong deck. But consistency is an issue. But anyway, so I've played this color combination. I've played this kind of deck a lot, and I think this is a pretty solid combination. I really do like the idea of Venerated Unicorn is splashed in to block elves. Even if you just, and even when you're not using it to block elves, you can bounce bounce it with Enchanted Spring. You can bounce Succubus, you can bounce Spirits, you can bounce Vultures, you can bounce Unicorn. Another good card because of the addition of the Spark of Initiative and because of the New Horizons. Another card that might be worth considering that also works really well with the bounce and at blocking elves could be the Library Guards. If you find yourself kind of needing something mid-game that works really well, I really like Library Guards. I mean, it's a cantrip, so when you play it, it replaces itself in your hand. It's a 3-speed blocker. Sure, it comes out on turn 4 if you don't have any kind of acceleration, but it can still kind of sit there and just, you know, dominate the board at a time. We don't necessarily right now have any solid, like, I know playing this, what happens? It gets either Fey Charmed or Ancient Trent, and at the moment there really isn't a whole lot that can be done about either of these cards outside of maybe assassinating the Fey Charm. To be completely honest with you, I think the one thing that this deck is lacking is instant speed removal. The only real instant spell in Corruption is Flash of Delirium. Maybe if they made Noxious Fumes an instant spell, maybe if they made Consume Spirit an instant spell, I don't know. I'm not a dev, but I'm just saying that I've always thought that maybe Noxious Fumes could be like -1, -2 instant speed or something, you know what I mean? I mean, if the 1-mana nature +2/+2 can be instant speed, why can't the opposite -2/-2 be instant speed? Feel free to tell me I'm an idiot in the comments below, but that's just my 2 cents. Maybe making this instant speed would help a lot against elves, you know what I mean? Maybe it would help counter the immediate holy hell, my opponent just played 4 guys and gave them all swift turn, I think. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So I really like this deck. I like the way it works. Expect a gameplay video later this week. If you like this video, guys, thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Everything you can do to help me with my channel, help support Spellweaver. I'm trying to spread my channel a little further across the internet using other media websites and such that I've never used in the past. I posted that on Reddit, which I've never actually visited in the past. I've never actually been to Reddit in the past, but you know, I advertise there, and I'm advertising on Facebook and YouTube and on the Spellweaver forums, and anything you guys can do to help spread my channel, you know, big thumbs up. I'm gaining a number of subscribers a day, but I could always use more. If you check out my Facebook page, I posted something about what I'll do when I hit 200 subscribers. I'm at like 228 right now, I think, and I get a steady stream of subscribers a day. But check out my the video I posted earlier today about my update for the gold giveaway contest, and I hope to see you guys in game. And as always, may the cards rise to meet you and bring good RNG to your enemies' enemies.